Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from the Political Command Center in Mombasa headquarters. Thank you very much. Viewers across the continent of Africa, this is Dr. David Matanga, broadcasting live from the headquarters, second headquarters of Punchline Africa TV, right in the city of the coast. Good morning, all of you across the continent. Those in the Commonwealth, 10 o'clock. How many minutes? 7 minutes past 10 o'clock in Rwanda, Kigali. And we know Prince Charles arrived last night with Princess Camilla. They all came. Camilla, not Camilla. Camilla, Princess Camilla, the lady who took over after the death of the favorite Princess Diana. They arrived in Kigali from Her Excellency, Her Majesty's, the biggest plane, one of the planes. And you know those planes that carry the presidents are really powerful planes. They can be refueled in air. You have watched that film, and most of you, good morning. Across in Nairobi, we have our senior anchor, senior presenter, senior editor, none other than Miriam Ogutu. Good morning, Miriam.
Hey, Doc, a very good morning to you and good morning to our viewers.
Thank you very much, viewers. Most of the people who have seen us, we have been saying the truth. We continue to say the truth. In Meru, the mountains, the slopes of Mount Elgon, Aberdares, the growth of Mira, one of the second earners of income, foreign exchange earner, that is going to be airlifted to Isiolo Airport, opening up Isiolo hinterland for activities and employment, is none other than Douglas Kirimi, the destroyer. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. David Matanga and Miriam Ogutu and our crew and our friends across the world. Thank you for having me on the show. And remember, Dr. David Matanga, the President of the Republic of Kenya, has rolled out the Mira centralization meetings running from today to Sunday. And the people of Meru and the region are going to benefit from the same. And the market is about to be open in less than a week. So people are very prepared and are very pregnant of the opening of the Mira market. And we also thank you for using your channels, your television to also air the grievances of Mira farmers, giving us a voice to speak for ourselves and also to the President and the Minister for Agriculture, the Honorable Peter Munya, who comes from the same region, for spearheading the Mira market reopening and the speaking out for the Mira farmers who had lost hope. And when William Ruto came to Meru, he told them you should forget that market and start farming something else, maybe cassava, avocados, and something else that can be able to sustain your livelihoods. But the president gave us hope, and he has been able to cross that deal, and we are very gracious to him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. His Excellency, the president, is always very good, great, and very well organized in terms of making sure that he keeps his promises. And before we have actually a few days left, about 42, how many days left? There's a counter somewhere which is counting the days. We shall not leave any stone unturned until we leave this country to the safe hands. And good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. The show right now is Political Debrief. Political Debrief. I will give short, summarized version. If you have anything, any of you to add, you will add. My first topic today is the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling has been increased in the next 2 years to 1.4 trillion shillings. The budget for the financial year 2020-23 is 3.3 trillion. That means the exchequer in this country, Kenya, or the exchequer or the secretary to the treasury. In Britain, they are called exchequer. The chancellor of the exchequer is the exchequer. You are now anashika check. Will be borrowing to a tune of 1.4, both domestic and external borrowing. As I told you, I hated economics because every time I used to read it, it takes me back to the same levels. It takes me back to the same levels every time I used to read about economics. If I looked at Max Weber will take me to the same level, then bring me back. Then I said, I will not do any economics at the moment. I will concentrate on very serious engagement of political science. So the debt ceiling in Kenya goes to 1.4 trillion, and that one is the ceiling that has come to. I'm being disturbed by a phone call. Let me a ceiling that has Kenyans. You need that money. They need that money to run the government. The new government that is coming in place needs to run the money. You have the money, borrow it. Borrowing is not a crime at all. But borrowing must have the level, and the government always sets, the parliament sets the level at which you should borrow. That is very, very important. Thank you very much. The next topic that we want to touch are the voters. The voters in Kenya seem to have had a new tactic. It is sad that today you find that parties have more members than voters of particular parties, but especially the party that has been hit more. If you look at the percentage of voters, 39% of the younger men who always throng the rallies of William Ruto are the only ones who registered. That translates to 8.5 million votes. And 8.5 million votes, I've been doing my opinion poll. I want, before I go into this detail, to tell you Raila will win this vote with 54 minus or plus 2%. That is if it can swing some of the undecided voters. So if you minus by 54 from 2, by removing 2, it is 52. If you add 56 in the best of the best of the best, that's 56. And the Ruto will swing between 41 minus or plus. Then the rest of the votes, medium, will be captured by a few, the Wachikoyas of this day. It is now, it looks that officially we shall have 4 candidates on the ballot paper. We had been thinking the candidates would be many and the ballot paper will be as a blanket. There the IEBC got us, they had a strategy. They cut from 54 candidates to only 4. You never know, the court could come up and decide and give them another candidate, because people have moved to High Court and the Supreme Court to decide this matter. So the voters, most of the 13.5 voters are mature people. People who have been Moi's regime, who have seen Kibaki regime, who have seen Uhuru Kenyatta's regime, the thinking capacitated men and women, the real people who can say, for the sake of my country, let me wake up and go. That's why there are shivers now in one of the parties, especially the party that created what we call division. The party created divisionism, divisions of dynasty and hustler. That's where we went wrong. And I was warning, I was saying it here, we said it here. These divisions will hurt you people. When you started categorizing people that if you have one car in your compound, you're a dynasty. Then these people in that compound will wake up and go and vote to make sure that you don't steal their car. Miriam, this has worked. It has worked against Mr. Samoei Ruto, William, Dr. Samoei William Ruto, presidential candidate, former deputy president of Republic of Kenya, and a losing candidate for 2022 general elections. 2, what does this voter numbers bring out? It brings out that there was falsehood, fake news. The people who are eating Ruto's money, like Itumbi, Moses Kuria, there are more Facebook guys who insult me more on Facebook, but they have no vote. They are like Matanga. I have no vote in Kenya. So when you insult me, I don't care. You can go on insulting me, planting things on me, saying so many things. I'm not bothered. But I want to tell you frankly that the voters here in Kenya, if the vote goes by the way it is going now, the tears that are going to be in that current building are going to be very, very disturbing tears. Therefore, it is that we want to interrogate that what happened. Was there enough voter education? Did the people have enough voter education? Was that voter education enough to prepare people to come out to register as voters? What has happened? Why were people not? I told you several factors. One of the factors is that none of their people is on the ballot. Like the Mount Kenya people, they are not keen. And 2, the type of insults that were peddled against the president. They peddled a lot of insults against the president. And therefore, these insults went back to work, and they worked in favor of Azimio Party. The people who have a record, the people who say, look, the people who say we did what we could do, and we had done it very well, so there is nothing for us to get worried about. And those are the people that I thought we could. The most important thing is the age factor. Why the age factor will see Ruto lose to Raila. Out of 22 million registered voters by the IEBC, about 14 million are directly, 14 million are elderly people. The older population has seen the true colors of Ruto. how he has grabbed the money. I think let's look at this. Let's look at this. Let's look at Stephen production. Put on this one on there, across there, as we take coffee, bit of coffee. Put it. Let's look at that. Put it on. This has just come from one of the agencies, our agency, some of the agencies that also follow up our programs. Put it on. Let's see.
All right, they're still working on it, Doc.
Yeah, as you work on that, the voter, so what really messed up the voters, we had fake people coming up to be dead people, pseudo accounts. What Ruto did not know is that people were eating his money. They go and, work out with Facebook, that once you put a comment on Facebook, Moses Kuria puts a comment on Facebook, within 1 minute, Ruto, Moses receives about 15,000 likes. And Ruto thought, he was so excited about, very, very excited about the numbers on Facebook. Jumbi was also saying he had Bonoko intelligence. Bonoko means fake, which he used to pump out every time. Oh, State House, or Uhuru Kenyatta is going to detain people today. DCI is arresting this. This is the type of campaign these guys were doing. And now they have found themselves in a very hard corner, where they cannot even wrestle themselves out. They cannot even talk about it. The edgy factor, the people, the elderly, the people who have really seen Ruto loot the money, who have really seen Ruto loot this money, are not going to vote for Ruto. They will vote for Raila Amolo Odinga, because Raila Amolo Odinga is saying something which is very, very real, practical. It can be done. And if you look at the dynamics coming out now, if you will see that people who have been complaining, the civil society has been complaining about, I had, Miriam, I don't know whether you followed, and Douglas, you followed yesterday's civil society encounter with Ruto. And the civil society were hammering more about the corruption. And every time they could talk about corruption, Mr. Ruto's head was scratching his head as to whether one of them could come out openly and name him and say, but you are involved in this and that. So these are some of the things that have, is the tape ready?
Yes, I'm being told by production that we're ready.
It's ready, okay. Let's go now.
Are you muted, Doc? We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Miriam, there you are. I think that the picture explains exactly why Mr. Ruto should start cutting his trees now, which is an African norm that when you are about to have a problem, cut trees in order for other people to come and shangilia wewe. That is as far as election and voters are concerned. Miriam, let me finish the next one, then now we can just talk. You and Douglas can punch in what I might have missed out. The next topic is a political brief from Malawi. Can we play what the Malawi president said?
All right, they're working on it once it's ready.
Yeah, go ahead. The Malawi president was saying, you need that you see, Miriam, you need such action. You say, among the cabinet, I've arrested some people. And as we talk now, they are killing up in the committee. I bet from that meeting, if people have stolen, they will throw the money outside your state house. Because nobody wants to go to prison. But if we talk and talk and talk, there is no deterrent measures. It cannot work. So the president of the Republic of Malawi, Chakwera, first actually dissolved the cabinet and made a fresh cabinet, arrested those who had taken government money. But also, don't forget, he was also being pointed at, fingered at as having taken the whole delegation to London. You remember in Edinburgh, there was an uproar in Malawi. Everybody said, what was the use of taking? He dropped secretaries, he took his wife, and he said, he justified by saying his wife is a secretary. He married her as a secretary. She knows how to organize. African presidents have a way of answering questions, I tell you.
Yeah, that video is ready.
Okay, thank you.
Over a dozen individuals suspected of committing the crimes exposed by this audit report have just been arrested by the Malawi Police Service. So I want all of the thieves hiding in the civil service to mark my words. If the finger of evidence points to you as one of the thieves that stole COVID money for saving lives while hundreds of our people were dying of COVID, you are going to prison. On top of that, we will use the relevant laws to ensure that you pay back what you stole. Mubwezi, I have directed the Secretary to the President Cabinet, Mr. Zanga Chikosi, to interdict without pay those public officers on whose direct watch the financial mismanagement occurred. As for the Minister of Labor, who was named by the audit report as having spent COVID funds amounting to $613,000 on his allowances for a foreign trip, I have dropped him from my cabinet accordingly. Even though the minister has since returned the money, his usage of the funds means that the money was unavailable for its intended purpose when it was needed most. And I cannot have in my cabinet any individuals who either spend money budgeted for one thing on something else or do not ask tough questions to ensure that the money they are spending on something was budgeted for that purpose. As far as I'm concerned, anyone who steals or wastes public funds is a traitor to this country. I pray. I pray that God's curse will rest on anyone who steals even one kwacha of the public funds that God has entrusted.
Thank you very much. That is President Chikwera. He talked about corruption. He has said, if you are here and you hear me, stop it, because as we talk, some people are chilling down in the wrong way, which is the government seat. There are two cities in Malawi, Blantyre and Lilongwe. Blantyre is an old name for the Scottish in Blantyre. And Lilongwe is the new capital city where they relocated. They did a great job. It's only Kenya that has not relocated its city. But most of the countries, Kenya, Uganda, they have not relocated their cities. Rwanda, Tanzania has relocated. In fact, when you go to Dodoma, you feel the hinterland, the inside, breeze coming from up Lake Tanganyika, and then the other breeze coming down from the Indian Ocean. The town of Ujiji, Chigoma. You can see now I'm drawing the map for you, Miriam. The slave trade of East African slave trade, Bagamoyo, Ujiji, Morogoro, Tanga, Dar es Salaam. All that were routes for where the Arabs took us, sold us, took us to Yemen, Oman, Qatar. The current crop, I don't know, there's one thing that, before I hand the microphone back to you people, why is it there are no blacks in the Arab countries? Did they kill us on the Indian Ocean and the Red Sea? Have you any researcher, Miriam, brought that topic up for us? We seem to hurry very fast to condemn the British and the Europeans, but we have left the people who actually wiped us out. We don't have black people in the Gulf states. Where did they go? Have you asked yourself? We have one island that has the black people in Africa, and that is Zanzibar and Pemba. And I thank Mwalimu Julius Nyerere for having annexed the island, because it could have shown us how bad slavery was, to the extent that you find Okello, Field Marshal Okello from Kitgum, was actually also an army general in Zanzibar. You remember the man who overthrew the Sultan of Zanzibar was Field Marshal Okello, a Ugandan who was taken as a slave. His family was taken as slaves. And we found the Okellos on the island of Pemba and Zanzibar. But have you ever asked yourself, Miriam, because you are one of the youngest brains of research, and ask yourself, where are the black people that were carried on this Lake Victoria, Ujiji, Chigoma, Bagamoyo, Tabora, Dodoma, Morogoro, Tanga, Pemba? Where are they? They were just dumped into the ocean, and they took the ones that could work on the island. Cloves was one of the pyrethrum, the cloves for making fuel, oil and so many things for eating. Zanzibar was one of the most export of gloves that go to Europe. You look at your geography. Thank you very much. Those are the items so far that I've picked up today as debrief, political debrief, the debt relief ceiling, debt ceiling, voters apathy and the voters numbers in Kenya, Malawi, corruption, fighting corruption in Malawi. Can Kenya take a cue from here? Any government that comes in Kenya, should it be strict on corruption? And the younger men not registering and therefore dashing the hopes of the candidate William Samoei Ruto, because the 14 million voters are out for grabs. And the first person, let me tell you the percentage. If Ruto does not garner 70% in the mountain, which is a long task, a long haul, uphill task, to get 70%, you sit and drink more or eat more mirror wherever you are in that area. Do it, because it's gone. You need 70%. If the voter turnout out of the country is not 70%, we have a problem. Thank you. Back to you, William, in Nairobi, Kenya. Take it over from me.
Okay, thank you for that, Douglas. Good morning.
Good morning, Miriam.
All right, so I'm sure you were listening. Doc started with the debt ceiling, which I think we didn't get a chance to touch on in the morning. The Senate's decision to raise the debt ceiling from 9 trillion Kenya shillings to 10 trillion Kenya shillings now puts next regime in a tight spot as to how it will pay the ballooning debt. The new government will also have little room to maneuver in raising funds to fund the many programs and promises made to Kenyans during the campaign. So the public debt, when President Uhuru Kenyatta took over from the late President Mwai Kibaki, which was around 42.8% of the country's annual productivity, and then that was 1.8 trillion Kenya shillings, the public debt, and the country's public debt when the late Mwai Kibaki took from the late Moi was 630 billion Kenya shillings, and public debt that Mzee Jomo Kenyatta left in 1978 was at 1.17 billion Kenya shillings, and Kenya's gross public debt as of December 2021 against the country's nominal GDP estimated at 10.7 trillion Kenya shillings. Now, yes, so as of 2021, the public debt stood at 8.2 trillion Kenya shillings, I think the highest in the recent years. So Doc started from there, and also the voters. I don't know if we had this conversation yesterday or the other day when we were looking at that analysis by KPMG. Majority of the voters between 18 and 34 are the 8 million, and we know a lot of these presidential candidates have been focusing and trying to get the youth vote. And so what will that mean? And as well as the Malawian president stand on corruption. So you could choose whichever one you want to talk about.
Miriam, we as a country, we are in a progressive world, and we are not where President Mwai Kibaki left us. The world during President Kibaki's reign in 2002 to 2013 has completely transformed into a different world. The challenges of 21st century of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the 20th century of President Kibaki, early 20s of President Kibaki are very different. And everyone that is drawing our comparisons and also doing comparative analysis between the presidents of President Kibaki and the presidents of President Uhuru Kenyatta does not encompass the challenges of the two eras. The challenges of President Kibaki are very unique to him. The challenges of President Uhuru Kenyatta are different from that of Kibaki. Kibaki ruled with the imperial constitution of 1963, whereas which has been, of course, some changes were done to the same, but President Uhuru Kenyatta was the implementer of the new constitution. President Uhuru Kenyatta dealt with mini governments, over 47 mini governments plus his own, which made it to 48 governments that sorely looked up to him. Counties with different issues, different priorities, and all that. When President Kibaki was the sole president of the Republic of Kenya, he would be able to say, let's say, in Samburu County, I'm going to allocate this and this and this, and at the end of the day, he would have his way. But today, the president cannot have a say on the budget of Meru County or Eregio Marakwet, Turkana, Uasin Gishu, and Mombasa. And these challenges, Miriam, presents a very financial chain of constraints that could affect the government of President Kibaki, President Uhuru Kenyatta in Nairobi. And the same, Miriam, cannot be said of President Kibaki, who under central government with all functions left in Nairobi, the only trickle-down development that we would get had to be sanctioned from Nairobi. But for President Uhuru Kenyatta, he had to look for money, send it to counties. Some of these monies would be late because you cannot service 47 governments and also be left with something to run as a president. That would have made it very difficult for him to be a political president who had no economic backing or social backing, where he can be able to relate with the people and maybe, one, be able to deal with government and public satisfaction or public opinion, because the court of public opinion is always judging a president by their own record. So I believe, Miriam, raising debt ceiling for President Uhuru Kenyatta, borrowing everything that he has done in between there, is something that we can be able to account for and be able to understand that these challenges are very unique to the administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta alone, because he was the implementer of the new constitution. He was the implementer, the president that made sure that all 47 counties functioned without even failing, Miriam. Because if you look even at when Makueni wanted to dissolve, it took the President Uhuru Kenyatta not to dissolve the Makueni County Assembly. The governor was fed up, the MCAs were fed up with him, and these people came to the fore and decided that they are going to dissolve their county. So these challenges that President Uhuru Kenyatta has been presented with, Miriam, are very unique to him. And the issues that are also in the present day of our times are very different, because, Miriam, even countries like the US, their borrowing in 2002 is different than 2022, Miriam. 22 years later or over 20 years later, Miriam, those challenges are very different. The economic upheavals are very different. For example, today we are battling coronavirus and other diseases. The same could not have been said of President Kibaki, who was majorly dealing with domestic problems. We are dealing with the coronavirus that we did not invent or that did not come from our country. We are dealing with so many other issues, Miriam, global issues. In 2002, Russia was not at war with Ukraine. In 2013, Russia was not at war. The Cold War that we are seeing today, the world war that we are seeing in Ukraine and other European countries and the West and all that, and the challenges that we are also presented with are very different. I think the greatest, some of the issues that Kibaki had to contend with was the Operation Arida Inchi, that he had to send the army to Somalia, Miriam. But at the end of the day, most of his issues were regional and domestic issues that could not have been President Uhuru Kenyatta's case, Miriam. Thank you.
All right. Doc, back to you. Doc?
Yes. So, sorry. Thank you very much. Douglas, unfortunately, a call came in and I didn't hear much. I believe you have done the same, and you have hit on one of those areas. I think finally, that is all we can say. The voter turnout is the only deciding factor in these elections. The IEBC preparations are also a factor, is in question. And the date setting means you have to have money for the next government to run to begin from. Then corruption, we must do something about corruption. Corruption is eating everybody in the continent, and therefore it must be done away with. Thank you very much, viewers. That was political debrief from the headquarters in Mombasa. Back to you. I'm Dr. Matanga in the headquarters. Is Miriam Ogutu. Thank you very much. And Douglas from Meru. Thank you very much. We love your analysis, and thank you very much. Coming up next at the top of our is the Commonwealth. And I will just introduce the Commonwealth subject. Prince Charles is already with the wife, already in Rwanda. And I believe President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta must be on the way, or is there, or I don't know. I'll cross-check by the time we come on air. But as you see, if you anybody who has got a TV about Rwanda, you'll find that it is a well-arranged ceremony that we see a lot of. I have never seen such a function. But this is a very good function which has been well arranged by the Rwandese. Yeah, Rwanda TV is broadcasting this function direct. The Commonwealth Business Forum has already started as we talk right now. They are on the Commonwealth Business Forum. And so many of these businessmen all over the whole world, whether you have, except Russia, but I think Russians can come since it is Rwanda. So it is a well-organized. I saw the way they were welcoming guests. Oh my God. Hey, when they take you out of the car and you go sit somewhere, the president, two ladies carry your suitcase or your briefcase, your PA, show you your room. Oh, it's a very good organization. Thank you very much. God bless you, Miriam, in Nairobi. Over 35 heads of state from the Commonwealth